What a good and wholesome thing it is to gather in this manner, to come to this place with these people and to participate in this event. The event is the sharing of our lives together. We gladly give many thanks for the giving and the receiving of these stories of our lives. Let us fondly remember all those things which were spoken, and let us also imagine all that was not spoken, that which was left unsaid, still kept within heavy hearts, too precious even to be named. And let us receive all these into our own minds and hearts and lives. Let us take this very special moment to enter gently and lovingly into the spirit of prayer and thanksgiving. May we embrace this special moment, this precious moment, bringing ourselves wholly into this eternal now. We put away our daily obstacles, the headaches and irritation. We try to put away our worries and doubts. We intentionally and carefully open ourselves to the pulse of life and the rhythm of life. We know of our fears and our hopes about health and illness, about jobs and family, about success and failure, and for a moment we set them aside. At times like these, we acknowledge our deepest selves, our innermost longings and rewards. And we know that we need one another, that we keep faith in one another, even as we keep faith in the world. We open ourselves to the depths, the spirit of life within, surging and guiding and sustaining, so that the strength and the hope we need comes together with the compassion the world needs, so that we may shine as a beacon to all places. We recognize and honor the powerful energy present even here and now, energy which comes from the congregation, mighty and gentle, creative and transforming. And as we remember the broken places in the world, those voices calling out to us to be mended, we recall the very meaning of this place, that there is love in the world, and love can transform and heal us constantly, now and forever. Yes, yes, and always we say, yes. Let me begin today with a command, like the commandments. And here is the first commandment. Happy New Year. Yes, that is a command statement. Clearly, it is in the imperative, like Merry Christmas, or Happy Hanukkah, or Happy Birthday, or Be My Valentine. Commanding us, commanding the people to have a happy New Year. And it's the way we fire up these cultural celebrations. You are being given a prescription for happiness, and you are not allowed not to participate. It is a command. Happy New Year. And of course, that's all good and fine, since who among us doesn't want to be happy in the new year? And who among us wants to wreck the party, especially a New Year's Eve party, let's say? Still, some of us just aren't in the mood for all of this jollity. We resent being dragged into the smiley-faced revelry when we are not smiling. We feel hypocritical, pretending to be cheerful and bright when in fact we are downright depressed. Our cultural New Year celebrations are particularly notable in this regard. At this time of year, we are asked to consider our lives and the way we have lived them in this past year, which has now deceased. Realize all the things that went wrong or that we did wrong, and turn around and make resolutions to do it all better in the new year. And that's a pretty big order for many of us. And it's no wonder that the way many people get through it is with the aid of large quantities of alcohol. As they survey the vast array of erroneous and blundering behavior from the past, they take on the commandment of happiness and resolve to find ways to be happy in the new year. And that's where the resolutions come in. If I can just adjust some of my bad habits, this dreary tale told by an idiot will be rectified. Now remember the roots of the word resolve, which means to solve again, to resolve. And the word solve is from the Latin solvere, which means to release, to unbind, and to pay. We get other words like it, like the word loosen, release, pay, analyze, loose, lose, and related words like absolute, absolve, analyze, resolve, solution, dissolve, solvent, and soluble. And now we have one more chance to solve the riddles of our lives. What can we do and what should we do? We perform this annual ritual individually, but today I would like to think of it in a cultural realm. What is the puzzle that humanity has found itself in, and what can we do to solve the puzzle, perhaps to resolve the puzzle? So a metaphor we might use in this is the mathematical notion of an equation. An equation is a formal statement using numbers or symbols of the equality or equivalence of mathematical or logical expressions. That's the official definition of an equation. In the equation, there are two sides, and one side can equal the other side. If they are equal, the two sides are said to be equivalent. My idea is that we make resolutions because the sides of the equations in our lives are in some way not equal, and the equation is not balanced. Now, sometimes an equation has a variable in it, which is called x. And if we can discover what the value of x is, then the equation can balance. For instance, if the equation is x plus 7 equal 21, then we can solve the equation by simply saying x equals 14. That's simple. In mathematics, there are defined procedures to find out what the x equals, even if the equation is very complicated. In the equation of our lives, there are often many x's, sometimes very many of them. And again, there may be the best ways to find out what that x is. And I'm suggesting that when we make a New Year's resolution, we are thinking we have found the x variable, which when identified will solve the equation of our lives. Now, doesn't that make sense? Isn't that just a great way to look at it? So how do you determine when the equation is out of balance? What are the signs, the symptoms, which we notice or which we don't notice? For instance, people whose resolution for the new year is to lose weight. None of you have ever had that kind of resolution. But even the resolution is to lose weight even when we try to put on pants one day, like I did in my pants that I wore in 1995, and found that even though they can fasten, they can't breathe inside those pants. In fact, they might even break the fastener in an incautious moment of exertion, where you hold in your breath, and then boing, goes across the thing. I guess I need to lose weight, or else I'll have to go and buy a whole new wardrobe. I realized that my body equation was out of balance in my pants. And you can take that any way you want. There are, of course, many, many other kinds of signals we might notice. Sometimes they are slight and hardly noticeable. Sometimes they are pretty glaring, and they might even come as warnings. I have a friend who resolved to quit smoking when he started coughing up some kind of black viscous thing going on. And the X factor was clear and unmistakable. So one of my favorite ministerial colleagues is a person named Lucy Hitchcock, Reverend Lucy Hitchcock, and I've known her for many years. And she has some thoughts about resolutions the way we're thinking of it right now. And here's what she says: I don't think we can change our character by deciding to change. I think we change, now this is the important line, I think we change by putting ourselves on a path which will change us. I don't think it works to just to decide to stop smoking or to lose weight or to be a nicer person and less prejudicial or to become less a ghettoized American and more a caring world citizen. What works, she says, is to put ourselves in the way of circumstances which will change us. For instance, a support group, Overeaters Anonymous, an unguarded friendship with someone different from us, a spiritual guide, a travel to the third world. If you are into making a turn it over and shake up resolution, I hope that you will join me in choosing to put yourself in the way of circumstances which will change you and us as a congregation. As always, Lucy has important wisdom. My take on her statement is that there's a difference between the verb to change and the verb to be changed. Let's face it, how many of us make New Year's resolutions only to break them 2 or 3 weeks later? And I've done that many, many times, and I wonder why I do that. It may have something to do with the word resolution, which we can think of in terms of making wishes. I wish I could lose 30 pounds this year, or I wish I could be a nicer person. And wishing for something or committing to something are very different things. After all, what is a resolution if it is not a resolve or a stated commitment and even a vow? And are we willing to make a vow to change? That would be a strong way of saying it. I could say, I promise to lose 30 pounds this year. And of course, making vows is always powerful stuff. What if we had to write down our resolutions and sign them with our blood? What if when we resolved to do something, we understood that there would be consequences for failing to deliver on the promise? When people say vows in a wedding ceremony, there are enormous consequences if they go back on their word. Would we be willing to make such a promise concerning our intentions for how we want to act in the new year? Lucy says that we should resolve to create these kinds of circumstances by deliberately putting ourselves in the pathway. And would we be willing to commit ourselves to this kind of thing? I would like to offer another ritual this morning. Actually, it's a reading which I've given more than once on the first Sunday of a new year, and it's related to a short message printed in your order of service, which says, if we do not change our direction, we are likely to end up where we are headed. Specifically, it begins with an ancient Dakota tribal wisdom that says that when you discover that you are riding a dead horse, the best strategy is to get off the horse, to dismount. However, in many organizations like governments, hospitals, large companies, school districts, and even churches, for God's sake, we often try other strategies when we realize that the horse has passed away right underneath us. So here are some solutions for flogging a dead horse. First of all, you buy a stronger whip. Maybe you will change the riders, and that will change everything. Maybe you will be saying things like, this is the way we have always ridden this horse. Maybe we would appoint a committee to study the horse. Maybe we would arrange a visit to other sites to see how they ride dead horses. Maybe we would increase the standards that you must meet in order to ride dead horses. Maybe we could create a training session to increase our riding ability. Maybe we could compare the state of dead horses in today's environment and blame the environment on it. Maybe we could pass a resolution, very simply saying, this horse is not dead. We could always blame the horse's parents. We could be harnessing several dead horses together for increased speed. And we could say, no horse is too dead to flog. We could provide additional funding to increase the horse's performance. We could do a study to see if contractors can ride it cheaper. We can declare that the horse is better, faster, and cheaper when it's dead. And that one is true, by the way. We could form a quality circle to find uses for dead horses. We could revisit the performance requirements for horses. And we could say that this horse was procured with cost as an independent variable. Finally, we could promote the dead horse to a supervisory position. Of course, this charming piece of advice is reserved for folks who discover that they are riding a dead horse. They're sitting on a dead horse. And that's a metaphor for finding yourself in a situation which has no good outcome. Most of us rarely find ourselves like that. And even though all horses eventually die, we can always find new and better ways to get where we are going before the horse dies. And that's what resolutions are for. A better way of saying that is, that's what planning is for. That's what commitment is for. That's what looking into the future and saying, I will do this and I will not do that is for. And that's exactly what we're doing here at Live Oak during our exciting transition time together. And that's exactly what we're doing after the service today when we gather for our next Conversation Salon. And that, dear folks, is exactly the right thing to do. I would like to begin this time with a prayer. And the prayer is a song. It's in your gray hymnal, and it's the number one song in the hymnal. Scott is going to play this while we sing it, and I'm inviting you to sit there and not rise so that you can be prayerful as you sing the song. The song is called Prayer for This House, and let us prayerfully sing it. It's number one in the gray hymnal.